This week, I had the privilege to spend a few days observing and admiring the work process at the piano workshop called Klangmanufaktur in Hamburg. This is a place where the common goal is to bring out the absolute best from the instrument by addressing extremely delicate aspects and nuances. Marrying old and new, tradition and innovation, the soul and history of the old wood with new inner parts, strings and hammers is what makes these Steinway pianos special. The dedication and precision of maneuvering the 1,000 steps during the 400-500 hours spent on each piano is matched with a friendly atmosphere and positive attitude. I sat down with the founder of the company, Oliver Greinus, to learn about his approach towards the piano.
Do you remember there was a very special instrument here, I think more than 100-year-old Steinway, at that room where you stringed the other day. 5 years ago, maybe it was a long time to remember, but you told me, or you told us back then, that that's not an instrument for pianists, it's an instrument for piano builders, or the reason why you brought it here was more for yourself rather than for any customer or anybody. And I remember there was no chair next to it, you just were standing, and then you played one single major chord. And I had goosebumps. And you had tears in your eyes. And I was a bit jealous, I must admit, because as a pianist, we spend hours and hours every day to get that effect. And there you are, not even sitting down at a stool and making this sound that was actually giving the same effect as the most rare moments that we strive for in a concert. So talk to me, what was that all about? And how can that happen? And what did that piano know, and where is that piano?
That piano was basically very open to me, and was a bit like it was speaking my language. And you get that thrill of sensations when brains interlock. We talked about what is happening when you're inspiring yourself. The same thing happens with a musician and the audience. And if this happens very instantaneously, this is when you get the goosebumps. So this is kind of because you're sucked into something which is very, very exciting and thrilling. And that is, I always call that moment coherence of brainwaves. I'm quite sure you can measure that. We had, I told you about that, I'm going to repeat it. There were tests done with musicians that had, where the brain waves, the brain currents were measured when they were making music. It was 2 guitar players, and the result was that the brain waves synchronize, that they are in phase, coherent when musicians are making music. Sometimes not very stable, just for fracture, but you can really see that the wave pattern was the same. The highest synchronization these 2 musicians had in that very, very fraction of a second prior to them starting to play the first note. And this is something that can happen with the first chord as well. Typically when the first chord is being played, this is interrupted. So when we were talking, we had already established a relationship, something that is not just, when we are talking, this is just compression of air. You know, it is, this is, sound waves that propagate through air, which is exciting our drum skin. Is it called drum skin?
Yes. Yes.
And it's
eardrums. Yes.
But it's at the same time they're like telepathic relationships as well. They happen all the time, and they can be intensified with sound because it makes it even clearer what the intention is. And so you basically just need one chord. Yes. And typically I think a concert should start like that. That when the first note is played, that everyone is just highly alerted.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder, when you say that piano spoke my language, it's about a certain bass, a color of bass that it provides, and a certain balance between the discant and the bass.
Everything is
that combined is your language or a specific language.
Yeah, that I think is very difficult also for me to describe.
Maybe
but there are instruments, even though they have all these properties that you are looking for, that you are more in resonance with, and others.
Yes, this is very personal also.
Yes.
Taste. For me, that sound was very rich, very rich.
Yes.
And also something from the past, something I don't hear it in the modern world. I think that was what was with a surprising effect on my body and on my ears. And just the whole moment, and my logical mind was blown away. Really, it was so blown away that because it's just one major chord. So I try to analyze what are you doing, right? Because we're not even playing a piece of music. Because my pianistic brain is all about the beauty of the piece itself and what the composer wanted and what's the message and how to make that work. But this was a chord, one single chord, and the sound waves. So it was very, it was your area, and I will never forget that moment. I will never. Sure. Where is that piano now? Do you know?
Yes.
Yes.
It is with a private customer, and he was, when he came, he touched that piano and played it, and he knew it was his.
Oh, so good to know that this piano is with somebody who absolutely. So I have another question about the team members and you two. Do you play? So when you try out a piano, you try different dynamics, or do you play a piece, or in what sort of way do you play the piano when you start working with it?
When I'm working with it, I've got my typical progression of chords and keys and melodies. I'm typically playing something, it's always the same. Everybody here has his own melody. Because when you test the piano, you need to play something that you absolutely do not need to spend a fraction of a thought on. Because you want to access the piano. And if I have to take out a score sheet and put it on there, then my eyes are already reading the score, which means if I have two senses open parallel, one is already blocked. So when I'm testing a piano whilst I'm reading a score, I can either hear or feel, but I cannot do both.
Yes.
Because my eyes are very, very dominant and they are taking the main attraction. So it makes it very difficult to assess a piano. So you need to do something where you do not need to spend a fraction of a thought.
Yes.
And then you get an immediate feedback of what the piano can do. This is not like the technique of voicing or something like that. Of course, there you go the full dynamic range. And when I'm accessing a piano, I typically don't go above mezzo forte. I'm playing quite softly. Then it is for me easier to hear. I do then raise it, of course, to fortissimo because I need to hear whether it's making noises or something rattles or something like that. But this is a very personal way of doing that. This is how I think I'm getting the most information that I need, and it's always I'm mainly exploring the sound. When I'm trying to explore the regulation, that is then I'm not listening as much, and I'm really going more into the feeling. What is the response to my fingers? And it's typically does not take very long. When I'm assessing a piano, it's like this walking into the room. I have a very clear picture when I'm walking into the room what the atmosphere of the room is. And the longer I'm in the room, the more difficult it is to describe the atmosphere.
Yes. Because then you try to use another side of your mind. I think your logic comes into the picture more and more.
When you play the piano, after the first couple of keys that you've hit, you know 98% of the piano. And if a piano then lacks something, or you do not feel that you're really bonding with the piano, then it won't happen after 2 hours. So it is just that you are, when you play 2 hours, you're starting to build a translation for yourself that how to understand this piano, but it's not an intuitive access.
Yes. So you make your decisions pretty fast, basically, no? When you meet a piano, that this is a yes or a no. This is my.
That is very fast. That is. I'm done with that after 10 seconds.
Yes.
And I actually need only 2 seconds.
Yes.
When I'm continuing to assess, then I'm asking myself, why is it like that? And that is then more the analytical part. Analytical part is conscious mind.
Yes.
So that is kind of then, of course, I need to figure out what is the problem of this piano.
Yes.
But
then you already are on the journey with the piano. So that's already a commitment, so to say. And as now that I had the opportunity to play several of the pianos that you've been working on, I have started to feel a sense of signature of the Klangmanufaktur because they have something that they share in common. They have this metaphysical touch from the team members. So you see, you feel their work in it, and the responsiveness that we talked about, the speed of it, and the communication that is circling. But still, of course, after this stage, there are the personalities, and I have my preference already in the next studio, next door in D, and I think that's a combination of the piano itself, the specific one. But already, and it was instant, haven't even touched it, but I saw it. The symbol is a little bit different. I don't know what, I will ask you about that instrument a bit more in detail. But I think it's also the acoustics and also the privacy of that room, as there is no window seen through. And so it's a psychological ease. And again, maybe it's a personal thing that you like to be intimate when you practice, because you try different things, you open up your soul, your heart, it's something very sensitive. So you want to do it privately, of course. But yeah, so after this stage are the nuances of the personalities of each piano.
Mm-hmm. This is also something you're talking about, opening yourself. We have people that play our pianos and they're a bit scared of the piano because it's so open. And they rather want to conceal part of their personality.
There's a certain honesty, right, there in the piano. Kind of bare.
Yes. Yes, it's a very bare honesty.
Dangerous.
Yes, it is dangerous, and it's a commitment. And this is kind of when I'm as audience sitting in a concert. Of course, this is what I want the musician to be. Absolutely direct and honest, and I want to be right with him in the same universe, you know? And the moment you try to put a bit of a safety distance between yourself and what is happening on the concert stage, it's like lifting a curtain. So, and this is, those are the concerts, very many concerts are like that, with an invisible curtain between the audience and
like
the
wall
musician. Yes.
that is hard to break.
Yes.
But do you think this is connected to the fear of the mistakes? Or trying to avoid mistakes? Is it a certain fragility?
There are many fears. This is one of the fears, and we've created a world of musical evaluation and criticism, critics, where as soon as you make a mistake,
you are written off.
Yes, or you think that you are written off. If you have a good concert where you bring the audience into a flow state of mind, don't worry about mistakes. Nobody worries about mistakes. Everybody's going to go out there, and the world is a bit different to prior to the concert. And nobody's going to say, yeah, but you know, in the seventh bar of the movement, she was really struggling. Nobody's going to say that. Nobody's even going to remember it, because it's of no value to say something like that. But if you have a concert where there's a wall, of course, then you start counting mistakes, and then your conscious mind is taking over in the audience, and that is always very critical with that stuff. But I think the fear of making mistakes is preventing music from happening.
Yes,
definitely.
It's a big subject. Yes, yes, and maybe also in your field as a piano builder, maybe is it something that fear of mistakes, is it part of it?
Yes, of course. When you are taking a piano where you work on all these different things, of course you are minimizing safety margins. And when you have a Stradivarius, the soundboard of a Stradivarius is, by the shape and by the thickness of material and everything that is there, is at that absolute border of collapsing. So all mass that is not required has been eliminated, which is really, these old instruments, they are very fast in attack, and they are very precise, and they have a very defined and clear tone. So with a violin, the soundboard starts to lose its crown, and the luthier has to rebuild the crown again and again. We cannot do that with a piano. So this is this ideal is something we cannot do because there's too much pressure and forces going on. But right now we are not in that critical area, but we are way off. Everything is so stable and everything is so
secure.
That we basically lost our feel for a safety margin.
It sounds like walking on a very tight rope, which requires a lot of alertness and being right there presently, the full attention span. But that opens the wide range of possibilities.
That opens a wide range, and still we are not taking the piano to the limit. When I'm working on a soundboard, I always bear in mind that I'm not the last one doing that, but that in 50 years from now, there's going to be another one, and in 100 years from now, there's going to be another one. So if I take anything right to the limit, this means nobody else is going to work there anymore. And so I always must leave a good margin of possibility.
But do you keep the old tradition of work, like the original Steinway brothers way of craftsmanship to hand over to the future? Do you do, or do you change even in that?
No,
aspect?
I think what we are doing is 100% in conformity with this Steinway design intent.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. And let's talk a little bit about the future of the future of piano, and your dream about the future of Klangmanufaktur itself, because in the past 5 years it's grown quite significantly, despite all challenges that we have been facing in the world. So what is your dream for the future of the pianos?
It's difficult to say what are my dreams for the future, because what I'm doing here is basically I'm already living my dream.
Yes.
And it was nice to see it grow and to see how many people are being attracted and share what we are doing. And I think that the future is that we want to intensify the sharing of knowledge. This is.
You talked about the trainings that you are now planning to start, right?
Apprenticeships, trainings, all that stuff. And because I don't want these experiences that we have here to be limited to just this very one place. But we would like to just pass it on. And we see that many positive reactions coming from the seminars that we are giving, and how other piano builders, concert technicians are working with new methods that they've learned, and they come with new feedback to us, and it's like we are spiraling into a better quality.
Yes, and this is what will make it sustainable too.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I want to tell you that when I first came here, the other thing that touched me so deeply was that I couldn't believe that you exist. You know, like, because I resonated 100% with the purpose and with the taste and with the dreams and the goals of this place, and the aesthetics also, because these pianos are so beautiful as well to just look at and not just listen. So the wood, the way you deal with the wood, for instance, is just marvelous to see. And people usually, even yesterday, there was a lady who came and she said, "I'm sorry, but I have to touch it. I have to touch it." And that gives a pleasure too, just to touch the wood part of it. So it's great that you exist. and to have this realization that wow, there's a team
Mm-hmm.
who you resonate with so fully in your field, and which is our passion, our shared passion for the sake of music.
Yes, we're spending many hundreds of hours of work on a piano. 400, 500 hours, that is absolutely common for these instruments. Going into a lot of detail. And I had one concert technician, when we got started here, said, this is very, very nice what you're doing here. And of course, I understand what you are doing. But to be honest, who needs that? Who will appreciate that? And I said, it is my firm belief that there are people that need this and appreciate this, but it's something they don't find anywhere. And how can you ask for something where every piano that you play tells you it is not possible? So you have a lot of experiences that are basically, bringing you down to earth, and you're not reaching for the stars anymore. And after a while, you forget that there are stars. And so if nobody shows you and tells you, you will start, or you will never ever ask for that. And so I said to him, it's my belief that there are people out there that share exactly our freakiness about piano.
Yes, our love for the piano.
Yes, and this, until now, this assumption was correct. And it is even that I have to say there are much more people out there than I had anticipated. So it's, this is my experience of what happened here. We are not alone.
No. Wonderful, Oliver. Thank you so much for this.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure. And I wish you a beautiful, long future and the same energy, same enthusiasm, good health to keep going and expand and make it sustainable and spread this.
I can just pass that compliment back to you.
Thank you.